Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Pavnit, Carl, Robin, Boris, everyone else who made this interesting type of presentation possible for me personally and for those who are in the audience. Thanks much. Actually, I really love to attend these TUG conferences, and I did my best to do this every year as much as I could. I missed one when I was pregnant, and this is the second one. So I hope that it will work well. Thanks, everyone. Today, we are talking about justification, and we are trying to answer the question, is it good or is it bad for the reader? And we invited one of my young students. His name is Rinat Gizatulin. I hope everyone sees the title slide. Boris, is that true?
Yeah, okay, here's the title slide.
Yeah. So, Rinat Gizatulin and he presented this work at our neurological conference, and it also caused a nice discussion there. So the idea was to see if justified text is better. Most of us, when we type something or when we read something, think that justified text looks nicer, looks better, and is better. So we decided to see if it is really better for healthy readers. We tried, as you might remember, different experiments like this with healthy readers and with patients after stroke, with patients with different neurological conditions. This time we invited just healthy students to be volunteers and to participate in this experiment. Boris, does everyone see the first slide after the title slide?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I guess we can move to the next one. Number 3, please.
Yeah, the experimental setup, yes.
Yes, please. So we decided that the text should be not a medical text, but we invited healthy young students to read this text and to participate in the experiment. And we took this text from something that we call total dictation. I know that it works in several countries of the former Soviet Union, but I don't know if it works in the United States or in the other countries. This is a kind of educational thing when everyone in the country is invited to participate in this dictation, when usually an actor reads some text, and everyone who wants is asked to write it and to see if he writes correct. So it was originally started in Novosibirsk, in academic town where I was born, something like 10 years ago. And first time they took just the text from classical writers like Lev Tolstoy, etc. But then they decided that it's very easy to find Lev Tolstoy's writings on web when somebody is writing this dictation, and they asked quite famous Russian writers to write special texts for this dictation. And the text that we used for this experiment were the texts from Yevgeny Vodolaskin, which were used in 2015 for this total dictation. So the experiment was quite simple. We invited 300 healthy volunteer students, and my student, Rinat, he selected the text, 2 texts from this total dictation, and Boris put them nicely as text A and text B, and used 2 types of typesetting, justified and dragged. So half of volunteers got A, justified, text A justified, and text B dragged. Another half got text A dragged and text B justified. Every student got both texts, but typesetted in different ways. It was a randomized study. We used software called randomization plan, and we just made a file of 300 texts, 300 sets of tests, and it was put in randomly using this software in a special order, and it was given to students. So we hope that we can call it randomized controlled study. We asked volunteers to read in the comfortable speed for them the texts, and my student Renat was there with his watch, and after 1 minute he gave a signal, and everyone just put a big dot in his or her text saying that this is how much I read during 1 minute, during 60 seconds. And we calculated the speed of reading. After that, we made it before, but after the text was read, we gave them multiple choice questions, 10 questions about each text. We gave these multiple choice questions immediately after they read the text. So we gave them the time to finish with reading the text after 1 minute, surely. After that, they went to their classes, and actually it was just one lecture, and after 60 minutes, the test was taken again. So we got the same test, and they answered the same questions, and it was delayed text. So we compared different things. We compared the speed of reading, and we tried to compare understanding. Do our students understand better the text which is read, or do they understand better text which is delayed? And not just understand, but remember, because after 60 minutes, according to psychological laws, it is already long-term memory. The test that is immediate test is controlling the memory which is short time, and the test which was given after 60 minutes is already considered to be a delayed test which can test long-term memory. So this was the design of the study, and I guess Boris will be excited to tell you more about the results, the findings, and to discuss our interesting findings, and maybe we will be able to find more answers than we have at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Leva. Now, okay, I started with a thing. Okay, I will tell a little bit more about statistics, probably more than you want to hear and more than I want to tell, but I need to do. I started with a little thing which is called paired t-test, and basically you do this. Since everybody used both text A as justified and B is read right, or vice versa, I could just calculate the difference in speed reading in the speed of reading between justified and read. And I can just look at the differences, and here you see just the difference, and see they're very close to zero. There are some outliers. It suggests that they read the justified text faster, but not much. We calculated the immediate test, and again there is not much difference between justified and read. And then we calculated the difference between justified and read for delayed test, and we found that read was better. We found that there is a little 0.26 difference between the number of correct answers, and 0.26 per 10 questions is a lot. And I looked at it, and I knew that something must be wrong, because we all are taught that justified texts are better. And now we see that read texts are worse. So as it usually happens, when you see some unusual results, you start to fiddle with the setup, and you start to ask questions, what happens. And what we thought with this is about this the following thing. We calculate the difference between read and justified. But the thing is that you have a lot of different things going on. First, people are different. Some people read faster, some people read slower. So of course, if you have 10 million people, it will cancel out, but we have about 117. Second, obviously you cannot have two texts with exactly same level of difficulty. Whatever you try to do, the difficulty would be different. So the speed of reading would be different, the comprehension level would be different, and since the effect is very small, you basically try to look at very small effect using large numbers. And here we have the same problems that mathematicians know. If you have 10 billion thing minus 10 billion plus 001, a mathematician will tell you that the answer would be 0001, right? But any computer scientist or anything working with computer knows that it's wrong. Why? Because if you subtract a large number from a large number, you have a huge error, and it's more than something you add. So it's very difficult to find a very small thing if you try to cancel out large thing. Yes, half of people use text A as justified, and half will use text B, and it will cancel out. But to cancel out, you need a lot of people. So I said, okay, do I have a better statistical technique? And yes, I do. It's called Bayesian modeling. Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to do Bayesian modeling. I'm going to teach a semester course about it, and I would love to do a semester course right now, but I think Pavnit will kill me if I...
My Yelp ratings are already down, so please.
Yeah, so I will give you a very simplified picture, and please don't tell anybody I gave it to you, because then they will kill me, because it's simplified lots of white lies. But the idea is this. You try to model your situation and put all the effects you want to see in the model. Then you say, what are the values of the parameters which make my model right? And you do a simulation where you try different values of the models of the parameters and look at the simulations which give you the behavior you see in the nature or in your experiment. And then you look how many of your simulations gave you this behavior. And the nice thing is that you can estimate all the parameters, and you can actually know what are the limits of your estimation. You can actually tell very well where is your effect. It's a very nice thing, and lots of people now for the last 15 years have been using it. They did not do it before because it requires huge simulation and huge statistics, so it started to be available only in the last decade or two, but it's very interesting. Okay, after this really lots of white lies and simplifications, what did we do? We did a very simple model. We said, okay, what is the speed of reading? Speed of reading is the sum of individual speed of reading. Everybody has a different speed of reading. It has a correction for text. If you have text A and text B, maybe text A is would be read by everybody faster. Maybe text B would read. So you would add something which is called correction for the difference of text. And then you have a correction where the text is justified or read right. So if you have A justified, you will have correction for B 0. And correction for read right 0. If text A is read right, you will have the second term 0, but the third term not 0. If it's vice versa, the same thing. So you basically have this. As to the number of correct answers, the usual thing is to estimate the probability to answer correct. The thing is, you cannot get linear model for probability. And the reason why you cannot have linear model for probability is because in the linear model you don't have limits, and at some point you will have a probability 1.5, which is not something you want, or probability -2. The usual thing people do, they use so-called logit transformation, they use so-called log odds. For each probability you can calculate log of pi divided by 1 minus pi, and you can check that this thing looks like that thing goes up if your probability to answer correctly goes up, it goes down in the vice versa, but it actually can have both negative and huge positive values, so you can. And then we use the same linear model for these log odds. Sorry for this long aside, but here are the results. Okay, yeah, I should say about methods. Just look at this as a gibberish. We used multi-chain, multi-color simulation with 16 chains, with 400 with 40,000 no, it was 10,000 examples each, and I must say what I must say. It's a requirement. I must thank the George Mason University computational cluster. They give the user of this cluster for free, but we must mention them. Okay, here the speed of reading, and I need. Do you see the numbers here? I can make it full screen, but you would not see Leila.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Excuse me?
We can see it.
Okay, the first graph here is individual difference, and you see that individual difference is actually pretty large. It's something like 70 words per minute. So the difference between fastest and slowest reader is around 70 words per minute. It's a lot. The difference between text A and B is also large. It's about 20. But we saw the difference between justified and rugged. And if you see, it's almost all in the positive, in the positive region. It means that actually, if you do very careful simulation, you see that justified text is read faster. Not very faster, it's 7 words per minute faster. It's much smaller than the difference between texts. It's much smaller than the difference between people. But if you take the same person and same text, you will see about 7 words per minute faster if text is justified. If you looked at the immediate test, which, as Leila said, and she knows better because she's professor of neurology and she should know this, in short-term memory, there is still, looks like there is a difference, but it's very difficult to say because our region is large, and so log odds for the answer are very well. They include 0. It means that it might be that there is difference. It looks like right is a little bit better, but I cannot say it. For delayed test, and here the result, I again was very much frustrated. The delayed test told me that there is a difference and right is better. I don't like it, I don't want it, but that's what I saw. And how much better is better? And here's again, you need to calculate from the log odds, you need to go to the real probability calculate. So, but here's the result of calculation. If you have 100 question multiple choice test, and you can answer 90 questions from 100. 90 is what? A level or B plus? What is 90? A. The difference between justified and rugged texts would be 4. So it's the difference between 92 and 88. Again, an average, and but that's what we saw. And actually, if you see this green line here, you see this vertical line, this is 0. So the part of the curve which is to the right, to the positive direction, is actually the probability that we are wrong and justified test is not better. And you see that this probability is really small. So at least what the test shows, what our tests show is that for delayed memory, it looks like it's better to read right text. Again, I don't want to hear this, but what I say. So what does it say about the famous word image theory? There is a theory that we don't read letters, we don't read phonemes, we read whole words. And one of the ideas is maybe, just maybe, because right texts are not hyphenated. Justified are hyphenated, not much, but sometimes. It might be, it just might be that it's better for your memory to remember the images of the whole words. Again, it's pure speculation. I don't want to, but that's it. I don't know whether it's dependent on the language. Remember, this was Cyrillic, this was Russian, and interesting, this was Russian, but it was in Bashkortostan, and some of the students are not native Russian speaking. They are Tataro-Bashkirian speaking. So it might be that it might be different if everybody would be native speaker or everybody would be non-native. We did not control for this. We probably should, but it would be very difficult to have a huge you need lots of people to have reliable results. We cannot. We don't know again whether it will be the same with Latin scripts. Maybe with Latin, and again, Russian words are long. They're hyphenated more often. English words, for example, are short. You saw that Jennifer saw you that Tech, when Tech tried to justify, it does not hyphenate almost at all because you have short words. You are lucky. German words are long. Russian are long. It might be different for different languages. If we don't know, and we don't know whether it's depend on proficiency. So to conclude, we have a very strange result. We are not sure what does this result mean, and I cannot tell you, everybody, if you are going to cram for exams, please find Regit textbook. It might be wrong. I don't know. It's just what we saw, and this is, you are the first. Oh no, you are second. The first was Neurological Congress in Copenhagen who saw the strange result. But for them, it was not strange because they are neurologists and not typesetters and not typographers. For you, it's probably more. And if I have a minute, do I have a minute?
Yes.
I want to finish with a story, which might be, you will see why the story. Yesterday we visited Eliot's bookshop. Thank you, by the way, Pavnit. It was, well, it was 5, I had 2 times here. I thought that I just died and I got to the heaven. First was in Tim Inkster's press, and second in the Eliot's bookshop. So, and then I bought a book by Lawrence Darrell. I love Lawrence Darrell, and it's pretentious because it says in the colophon, designed and printed by Noel Young for Kappa Press, 250 numbered copies, signed by the author. It has very good paper and so on, and it typeset Regit right in 1975. And I looked at it and I thought, maybe, just maybe, it's really, I don't understand much, and maybe good typesetting is actually Regit right. And I was looking at this book, thinking, and then Steve Isma came to me, and like me, he is a professional typesetter. He looked at it, he said, well, okay, he is a drop initial, and the baseline is completely wrong. He said, they should probably fix the baseline in the drop initials. And then they said, okay, maybe typesetting Regit right is not the proper way to do. So I told this story to show that sometimes your conclusions depend on the context, and you can change your conclusion several times, depending on what you're looking for and why you're looking for. Okay, thanks. I think we can now talk. And let me put Leila on the foreground. I hope she will be able to answer some questions.
Do we have questions for Leila and Boris? No?
You didn't really address the number of hyphenations in the justified versus Regit right, and it would seem to me that every time a word is hyphenated, the reader has to remember the first part of the word, scan to the left margin, pick up, reconstruct it in the head, and it would seem that hyphenation should impact readability.
Yes, yeah.
Tech is very good at hyphenation, so
yes.
I think Tech has an advantage over some of the alternative setting systems.
Yeah, we did this with Tech in both cases, and one text was not hyphenated at all. The second was, let me say, normally hyphenated. We probably should, in the next experiments, look at different. You can change the Tech parameters and change the number of hyphenation and look at this. We probably look, but this is our first experiment in this.
Boris, maybe we can show the text. Do you have the text with you?
I have them with me, but not on this computer. Okay. We probably will do it offline, okay?
Yeah, the Regit text was not hyphenated at all, so they had just whole words.
Yes, yeah, and the justified was hyphenated in the normal Russian hyphenation patterns.
There's been a lot of debate about Regit right versus justified. Maybe journal went to Regit right for a while, but the thing is, in your particular study, is college students who really are going to be tested. And they may in fact read a document differently than somebody who's not going to be tested, somebody who's reading a novel, or some people with different problems with ragged right might in fact upset the flow.
Yeah.
Versus when you're trying to do, especially when you're trying to do whole word extraction, meaning the things that someone might not be native speakers, as you pointed out, may have actually contributed that more. So the results are well, interesting. They're really confined to a particular kind of population in a particular kind of situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. The big driver behind our test was whether we can make some recommendation for textbook typographers. We really are not into novels, art, and yeah, you can have one-size-fits-all solutions. Yes, absolutely right. We were looking into textbooks.
There is a bit of difference. Like
Yeah.
Scan ragged right.
Yeah.
The model that seems to suggest itself to me immediately is the slower you read, the better you comprehend. Can you test for that?
Just to repeat the question, Boris, please, because the fan has come on.
Oh, I think Leila. Okay. Why? She showed that here the text. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Leila.
Boris, if
Okay,
you answer the question, just repeat it, please.
Could you repeat the question? Excuse me.
The model that immediately suggests itself.
Yeah. Sorry. The model suggests that there is an inverse relation between speed of reading and comprehension. And actually, before this conference, I talked to Kevin here from Microsoft, who said that he knew this for a long time. And I don't know how much research went to it, but when I told him, he said, yeah, surely, the faster people read, the worse is the comprehension, and everybody knows this. Yeah, he probably will give us some pointers.
Can I ask a question? It's actually directed at both of you and Kevin. One thing that's always bothered me about just the word size and the length of a line for readability is phonetically, shouldn't it involve the number of syllables per line rather than just straight characters?
I think Kevin might answer it better. I would think it depends whether it's the old theory about muscle tension when you move your eyeballs, or whether it's something else.
But when you interpret, is it strictly visual, or do you have this auditory translation that you're trying to turn words into?
Most people believe that word recognition does involve what's called phonetic recoding. You're translating the letters into sounds and then writing on spoken language.
So then I'm wondering whether some of these tests, Leila, can be modified from a neurological point of view to take that into account.
Leila, did you hear the question?
Not really. I heard just parts of the question. Sorry.
What did you say?
The question was whether we can modify the test to look at the whether the whether it's phonetically dependent or line length dependent. So is it a constant number of syllables per line, or constant number of letters per line which influences reading? Do you hear me?
I can see it now. From a neurological point of view, it doesn't make big difference. So at least we were taught that it doesn't really matter how big is the word. It is understood and it is remembered by the same parts of the brain. And at least at the moment, the mechanisms that show that we understand or can memorize or can read something, read it.
Thank you.
Because some parts of the brain work differently is not shown. So I don't think that this can be understandable, or that this can be explained from a neurological point of view at the moment. Whose question was that?
Johannes?
If you look at speed reading methods, there it is explained that the normal way of reading is reading word by word and vocalizing the words in your hand, which limits the speed you can read. Speed reading looks at the image of the line as a whole and tries to go beyond reading words. And when you're doing speed reading, you're doing 700-800 words per minute. Not that I can do it, my wife can.
Oh, really?
But you really have to switch to another way of reading, which is not vocalizing the words, which is memorizing images, basically, of the whole pages.
Speed reading is complete nonsense.
No, it's not. I've seen her reading 800 pages in a couple of hours, and she knows what's in it. It does work.
It's a skimming technique where you will pull in the information that you look at, and if it's simple enough, you can figure out what it is. But if you do eye tracking during speed reading and ask questions about what you looked at and what you didn't look at, it turns out you can't answer questions correctly about the things that you didn't look at. And so there's a clear relationship that the faster that you read when you're reading 800 words, when you're reading super fast, and your accuracy on comprehension tests plummets.
And is speed reading sort of, it's just correlated with someone who has fantastic photographic memory, right? So
No, you're just, nobody can recognize more than a word and a half during a fixation. And trying to pull in a whole line during a fixation just can't happen.
Which is amazing. This is great
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
Leila, I'm sorry we weren't able to set up a mic, but perhaps Boris can just summarize. Johannes had a comment.
Yeah, Johan said, Leila, do you hear us? We discussed speed reading and whether speed reading changes the way it works. Yeah, it looks like our connection.
I can hear you, Boris, perfectly, but I cannot really say that I perfectly can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Any other? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So obviously I have a vested interest in hyphenation, so I'm going to send lobbyists down K Street, to make sure that hyphenation happens all the time. But I had a question for you, Boris and Leila. Maybe you can repeat because.
Could you just come in and say it here so Leila can hear it from her mic in the...
Here we go. Hello, sorry. Are you interested in developing hyphenation patterns for Bashkir? Because I saw...
I don't really think so, because
Leila, I'm interested in it.
For the whole of my life, and I know just a couple of schools where they really teach Bashkirian language, and there is a school of Bashkirian language at our big university, but it is not really a big language that is used for education for most of people. As when I was in Norway, I asked, do you students study medical in Norwegian language? I was told no. There are just 4 million people in Norway, and just something like 100 people want to study medicine every year. We do not really read and make the textbooks in Norwegian.
I'm afraid I must
So I don't
disagree
think
with
that
you.
Bashkirian typewriting is that essential for textbooks for students.
Leila, I'm afraid I must disagree with you. I am interested in this, and let's try to do it. Even if several people talk this, it's interesting to have. But anyway.
Yeah, but I'm a medical guy, and I try to do things that are important for many people, not just one or two or
I
10
think it's a
people.
disagreement here.
You are a theoretical physicist, and this is the difference.
That's
guys
good.
can argue.
Okay.
So I just had one more quick thing. Boris and Leila, you could also make a study that controls for word length,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's my only point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Leila. Thanks, Leila.
Yeah, maybe some people had some other ideas in discussion. I mean, what could this mean? Just any anecdotal cases, any ideas. So many, maybe any other experience that are similar to ours, because we didn't find anything specific in the literature. Just any brainstorming could be really helpful for us.
Thank you.